Silver didn't make Europe richer, it made everything more expensive. Between 1500 and 1650, Europe experienced the largest precious metal windfall in history, and living standards collapsed instead of improving. Bread prices tripled, rents exploded, wages lagged behind. This wasn't bad luck or greed. It was a hidden monetary mechanism that still governs your life today. And once you see it, inflation will never look accidental again. Here's the puzzle historians still struggle to explain clearly. In the 16th century, Spain gained access to the richest silver deposits ever discovered. Entire mountains in the Americas were converted into money. Ship after ship arrived in Europe carrying unimaginable wealth. By basic logic, more money should have meant more prosperity. Instead, prices across Europe rose relentlessly for over a century. Food, rent, tools, clothing, all more expensive. Ordinary people didn't feel richer. They felt squeezed. So what went wrong? Most explanations stop at a simple answer: too much money chasing too few goods. That's technically true but deeply incomplete. It explains what happened, not why it unfolded the way it did, nor who benefited, nor why governments kept repeating it. Because this wasn't just an accident of economics, it was a power shift. Before the silver flood, wealth moved slowly, local, personal, afterward. Money became abstract, mobile, and political. States gained leverage, workers lost ground, credit replaced cash, debt replaced stability. And here's the open loop. The people who first felt the pain were in tea merchants, or kings. They were farmers, artisans, and soldiers, the same groups most exposed to inflation today. By the end of this story, you'll see why inflation isn't a malfunction, it's a feature, and why silver didn't break Europe's economy. It revealed who controlled it. The real story begins far from Europe, in a mountain that swallowed lives as efficiently as it produced wealth. In 1545, an indigenous laborer named Diego Walpa climbed a mountain in present-day Bolivia. He was searching for shelter from the cold. Instead, he found silver veins so dense they gleamed through exposed rock. The mountain was called Potosi. Within 5 years, it became the largest industrial site on Earth. By 1600, over 160,000 people lived there, higher than London at the time. The Spanish crown seized control and turned the mountain into a machine. Every year, roughly 300 tons of silver left Potosi. Over the next century, historians estimate 60% of the world's silver supply passed through Spanish hands. But this wasn't free wealth. Indigenous workers were forced into the meta system, rotational labor drafts. Mercury poisoning from refining killed thousands. Life expectancy in the mines was measured in months. Silver crossed the Atlantic in guarded convoys called flotas, arriving first in Seville. From there, it spread across Europe and quickly vanished. Spain had a problem. It imported far more than it produced. Weapons from Germany, grain from Poland, textiles from the Low Countries. The silver didn't stay. It flowed outward faster than anyone expected, and as it moved, something strange happened. Prices rose everywhere, not just in Spain. In England, wheat prices quadrupled between 1500 and 1640. In France, rents doubled. In Italy, wages stagnated while costs surged. The old medieval economy, built on stable prices and slow monetary growth, couldn't absorb this shock. Silver wasn't just money, it was pressure. Once unleashed, it couldn't be recalled. First, the supply shock disguised as prosperity. Before American silver, Europe's money supply grew slowly, tied to mining output and minting capacity. A typical silver coin contained 3 to 4 grams of metal, and scarcity kept prices relatively stable. Then Spain changed the scale. By the 1570s, Spanish mints were striking millions of coins annually. The famous Real de Ocho, the piece of 8, became the world's first global currency. This wasn't about trust. It was about volume. A merchant in Antwerp could suddenly access silver minted in Seville, mined in Bolivia, refined with mercury from Peru. Transactions that once required barter or credit now cleared instantly. But here's the trick. Production didn't increase at the same speed. You had more money chasing the same wheat, same wool, same land. Prices rose not because sellers became greedy, but because buyers could pay more. Sellers would have been irrational not to raise prices. Second, silver paid soldiers, not workers. Spain was fighting wars across Europe, the Dutch revolt, conflicts in Italy, wars with France and England. Armies had to be paid in cash, not promises. Silver made this possible. Instead of taxing locals heavily, Spain exported inflation. It paid mercenaries with silver, who spent it locally, pushing prices up in foreign economies. This is where it gets interesting. Local populations weren't enriched. Their prices rose, but their wages didn't adjust quickly. Silver didn't land evenly. It flowed through military and elite channels first. Third, silver created a monetary hierarchy. Those closest to the silver states, bankers, merchants, adjusted early. Everyone else adjusted late. By the time farmers realized bread cost more, the damage was done. This time lag, now called the Cantillon effect, was already operating centuries before it had a name. And once it started, it couldn't be stopped. But that's not the full story. Silver didn't just raise prices. It restructured power. Before the silver flood, wealth was tied to land, guilds, and local relationships. Money was scarce. Credit was personal. If a ruler wanted funds, they negotiated. Silver changed that. Suddenly, monarchs could bypass traditional elites. They didn't need consent. They needed access to bullion. In Spain, the crown borrowed heavily against future silver shipments. By 1557, King Philip II declared the first of 4 sovereign defaults. Not because he lacked silver, but because debt had grown faster than shipments. Here's the twist. Defaults didn't stop borrowing. Why? Because bankers expected inflation to continue. Repayment and devalued currency still made sense. Meanwhile, resistance collapsed. In rural France, peasants tried fixing rents in kind, grain instead of money. It worked briefly. Then landlords demanded silver payments only. In England, traditional wage laws capped pay. Prices ignored them. Once taxes were demanded in coin, participation became mandatory. You couldn't opt out. You couldn't barter with the tax collector. The system forced monetization. Adopt silver or lose your land. That's not market choice. It's compulsion. And once a majority complied, resistance became impossible. You couldn't trade, pay debts, or survive outside the monetary network. Silver wasn't neutral. It was leverage.